on your behalf today. I wish to really thank the Chairman and Board of Trustees of Nkatandi Igbo for this opportunity. I thank the founder, Iyom Josephina Neni, for all that she does, and also the members of trustees. Like she said, these are women that we respect and are pathfinders. A lot of them, including Professor Zikiwe, Honorable Justice Rosu Keje, Professor Zilo, Dr. Anno Kibo, and a whole range of them, Dr. Regina Amadi Njoko. So it's really heartwarming to be given this opportunity. I thank the ESCO Executive Committee of Nkatandi Igbo, the members and our friends, male and females, for being here today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nkatandi Igbo is a leading think tank for Igbo women in Nigeria. And since inception, they have not stopped at anything in making sure that they accelerate the quest for betterment of women and to regain the pre-colonial gender partnership between men and women at all levels, all aimed at the well-being of the people and development of the society. This event is holding in the month of March in recognition and celebration of March 8th as International Women's Day. I have been asked to speak on the theme towards gender equality, combating systematic gender bias for a greater tomorrow. This is quite contemporary, coming at a time when gender parity, participation, and women's voice are stifled. In order to put things in context, I would like to start by defining my understanding of gender. For the purpose of this discussion and given our own context, we shall be talking about two genders, male and female. This is our traditional ethos. If you permit me to borrow from the Holy Book, in Genesis chapter 5, verse 2, it is stated, male and female, he created them and he blessed them. It is important to make these definitions for clarity. Personally, the use of the terminology gender equality has affected my sensibilities for as long as I can remember. What readily comes to mind is a psychologically defeatist approach, in the sense that if you are fighting for gender equality, by rational deduction, it may imply that you have unwittingly ascribed gender inferiority to yourself, but this is not the case, as we can see from the definition of gender equality. Gender equality is defined as when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. According to Regina Amadi, 2019, gender equality efforts seek to transform power relations between men and women and shift them to social relations that reflect equal access to productive opportunities, social and material benefits. Why fight for gender equality, if I may ask? If both genders are equal, why fight for gender equality? I do personally believe that no gender is superior to the other. My preference would therefore be to use the terminology gender equity. Equity depicts actions, treatment of others, or a general condition characterized by justice, fairness, and impartiality. I believe this is what we should be talking about. This is applicable to both genders, whether female or male. It is important to properly set the stage for discussion since the target audience is general I think it's not just about our members. And the event is primarily targeted at women from all walks of life. So let's start by noting the obvious. The obvious is that both genders are different. They are not the same. They are different from onset, from birth, from biological makeup. They are qualitatively different. Therefore, there is no common denominator to determine that one is more or less. The anatomy and physiology of men and women are different. And I dare say that even their biochemistry or chemical makeup, as reflected in the hormones and emotions, are also different. It is important to acknowledge this so that our battles are properly pitched. Then the question is, are there areas that each gender has demonstrated more strength historically? Yes. Let's look at the nurturant roles. Given the biological difference and gestation role that women play, women have been found to be superior in nurturing roles. Some of those roles are sedentary and located in the home. These include caring for children, cooking food, nursing the sick, keeping the house organized. Based on biological differences, men have also been found to be superior in roles that require sheer muscular strength and energy. So division of labor found them hunting for food, protecting the family from invaders, generally providing for the family to ensure survival. Therefore, historically, the survival of the human race is inextricably tied to the woman who is responsible for gestation, that is, carrying children and bringing them to life, and the man who ensures their collective provision of food and protection, who ensures their collective survival through provision of food and protection from harm and invaders. What society should be asking itself is, are any of these roles as role assignments superior to the other? Not at all. No role assignment can be ranked higher than gestation, which is an existential thing. I mean, producing the next generation. Nothing can be ranked higher than that. Without gestation, humanity is doomed. Other roles can actually be played by both genders. With societal advancement, men can be caregivers and women providers or breadwinners. The problem, therefore, lies in the reward system. How are the contributions primarily made by women rewarded by the society? How are the contributions primarily made by men rewarded? What does the society gain from having children who are well cared for, well brought up, with the right core values instilled in them? Is this societal gain well rewarded or not? Psychologists maintain that any behavior that is rewarded gets reinforced, whereas any behavior that is not rewarded goes extinct. Is it because the society has largely downgraded the reward attached to the areas that women largely contribute to that has led to the clamor for role redefinition? These are just questions that provoke further thinking. Suppose women are recognized, paid generously, and respected or revered for doing or playing most of these invaluable roles in the family. Would they opt to be breadwinners instead? I am sure many of you may be thinking that I have missed the mark, as the question would be, in the 21st century, with great changes in the way we earn our livelihoods through conventional work, be it farming, trading, civil service, public service, working in companies, politics, professional practice, etc., etc. Today, what we should be fighting for is gender equity. This is because gender equity is based on fairness and justice to all, and it is sustainable. Equal opportunities for men and women is key because we are all humans. Equity and fairness demand this. just as Hillary Clinton said that women's rights are human rights. So that's what we should actually be talking about so that people can identify with us and know that we are just talking about our humanity. Nobody is looking at oppressing anybody, but we are trying to get what is ours as humans. Why would university education be prioritized for males over females, for instance? Why would women not be allowed to own property? Are they not humans? Why would a woman need the endorsement of her husband to embark on certain activities, whereas the same demand is not made on her husband? The current population of Nigeria is over 215 million, out of which 49.4% are women. It is in society's interest that access is not denied some of its members, so that its potentials is fully optimized, is fully realized. Where access is denied to almost half of the population, I mean 49.4 is as good as 50%, the society will be attempting to run on one leg or fly with one wing. This is not feasible. That is part of why we are stunted today in terms of attainment of our sustainable development goals. The historical antecedents have weighed against the women as society is reluctant to change the status quo, even when it has realized that human civilization has gone beyond brawn, that is the use of sheer physical force, to brain power. Our men, people occupying various positions as traditional rulers, senators, members of parliament, captains of industry, religious leaders, who hold power, afraid of losing it? That's the question. Some of the biases against women are conscious and some are unconscious, because most of us, men and women alike, have been socialized or brought up to see women as people who should always bear the brunt in the society. So sometimes we do not even know it. Sometimes we do not even realize it. But that's how we've been brought up, to see that whatever it is, that women bear the brunt for society. They are held to higher levels of behavior and accountability. For instance, if a woman is raped, the first thing that comes to mind is, what did she do? Where did she go to? What dress was she wearing? Whose fault is this? Well, I can say that cultural norms and values are handed down from generation to generation. So you can see the link, you can see the linkages from the hunter-gathering times up to today. So most of the time, culture is built over time, and stereotypes also formed through the patterns that emerge with time. This is only natural. However, with far-reaching changes brought about by industrial revolution, technology, and innovation, and accompanying disruptions, it may not be expedient to wait on culture to evolve, as that would be much slower in pace than required by the society. So what is gender bias? Gender bias is the tendency to prefer one gender over another, and I add, for no justifiable reason. It is a form of unconscious bias or implicit bias, which occurs when one individual unconsciously contributes certain attitudes and stereotypes to another person or group of people. These ascribed behaviors affect how the individual understands other people and engages with others. Biases cause us to form prejudices against others. How can we break the bias against women? Looking at this, let it be known that in the 21st century, every other role, apart from gestation, can be played by all genders. Women are contributing significantly to the nation's GDP and productivity. We have women who have distinguished themselves, but they're far in between. I mean, we have the Okonjo-Iwealas of this world. We have our own Regina Madi. We have so many people. We have Amina Mohammed in the United Nations, but we are saying that they're far in between. And so being an event at Nkata Ndi Inyom Igbo, let me state that at this point, the pre-colonial Igbo society enjoyed gender partnership in governance, but colonialism brought about the destruction of the Igbo power sharing structure. In this light, for the society to advance, individuals, whether male or female, should have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. It is now up to these individuals to make their choices based on specific abilities they have, based on interests they have, based on their motivation, or even based on their natural inclination. So how do we break the bias? There are so many ways. I've talked about culture evolving and so on. There's representation, there's equal opportunity, there's legislation, and also employing our male champions as our ambassadors. I will not talk in great depth on these because of time, but suffice it to give a few examples. One example is in representation. The banking sector is a good example of where representation has worked very well. The banking sector in Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria stipulates 30% female representation on the boards of Nigerian commercial banks of the economy. So it is mandatory to have a certain percentage in senior management and so on. So through these special programs, because of this stipulation, special programs have been developed to facilitate the thriving of women's capabilities. Programs that have to do with networking, because we are not like the men that do old boys and all that, but now we know these are skills that we need to acquire to network amongst ourselves. Things like executive presence, things like public speaking, things like assertiveness training, and curbing imposter syndrome. This is in addition to other competency requirements at this level applicable to all. So it's not like anything is being canceled or waived for women. Far from it. It's just that through representation, a good succession plan will be put in place to prepare women, equip them with the necessary skills to attain those positions. And we have seen it happen. We've seen that as a result, we have seen women rise to decision-making roles and attain board appointments as executive directors, as non-executive directors, as independent non-executive directors, as chairman of board of directors or chairperson of board of directors. They have been variously tested as chairman of various board committees and have largely succeeded. Today in the financial services sector, 28.6% of the boards in this list are chaired by women. This is a good example of how to break the bias. Let's look at another example for equal employment opportunity. The concept is when an organization, at the workplace, try to maintain fair employment and see that all employees are fairly treated when decisions on employment, such as hiring, promotion, termination, compensation, are taken. That decisions are based on merit and it's not just because you're a woman Maybe you see 10 men at the panel interviewing, and then maybe through their old boys network, they will not pay attention to the woman. So these are things that had been happening, but when you clearly put them in your policies, it helps to curb them so that instead of using all these extraneous variables, you will use only merit. Another area is legislation. And a good example is from Rwanda in governance. In this case, through legislation, Rwanda has achieved a majority of 61.3% of women's representation in its parliament. The constitution guarantees gender-sensitive legislation and reinforces the women's political empowerment, declaring that there must be a minimum of 30% of women in the Chamber of Deputies, as well as in the Senate. So when you have this kind of representation, legislation, it helps because it opens doors to women, capable women who are taught here and there. And as they do perform successfully, they also serve as role models to encourage the upcoming ones to do the same. The attainment of gender equality and full participation of women in decision-making are key indicators of democracy. The involvement of women in all aspects of political life produces more equitable societies and delivers stronger and more representative democracy. So this is what we need to do in the various spheres, whether in the media, whether in politics or in creative sectors. My colleagues in the panel will talk much in more greater detail in all of this. But let me say here clear, here and now, that for our women to note that the 21st century has conferred a lot of advantages to us. We must take advantage of that. For instance, there are so many skills that are now required in this century, skills like multitasking, emotional intelligence, collaboration, creativity, social skills, negotiation skills. These are skills that women have in quantum. Imagine a woman cooking, looking after the children, doing washing clothes and doing all sorts of things together at a time. So these are the skills that are demanded in the 21st century. So this is our century that we should take advantage of it. So this time is the time for women to thrive. The clamor is not based on nothing. The clamor has come about as things have changed and research evidence abound. For instance, research has shown that boards that are diverse significantly do better than boards populated by one gender alone, whether male or female. The place of multitasking abilities in this age, juggling so many things, has also placed women on a pedestal. The question is it possible for both women and men to acquire skills that make them flexible in applying what is needed most in a situation? The answer is yes. So because in this day and age, what you need is to have positively valued feminine and masculine qualities, what we call femininity and masculinity. It is what is called psychological androgyny, well espoused by Professor Sandra Bem in Cornell University in the United States. So now, in common parlance, I can say a tough mind and a tender heart can actually reside in one person, so that whatever is needed is what you use. So that is the demands of this century from men and women. So many organizations are trying to do their best in seeing that the upbringing of men and women are shaped in this way, because these days it's not about brawn. It's also, even in terms of that gestation, some women choose not to have children in time. Some, they can plan, they don't have too many children again. So they can actually be breadwinners, and even in terms of security, they can provide security for themselves. So it is good to bring up children in these ways, equip them with highly valued masculine and feminine qualities, so that they have good flexibility in applying whatever the situation demands. And so that is how you can rise. Again, in our champion for gender equity, I will also advise that we also involve male champions in this quest, because like I said at the beginning, there are two genders, male and female. So we cannot operate in isolation. We need to work with the men who understand that what we are clamoring for is the interest for the common good and interest of both parties, so that we can work together and achieve our aim. For instance, the gender act that we have recently presented in the National Assembly had gone, we didn't succeed, but we will not give up. I commend Nkatandi Igbo and other women organizations that had been there, the Wimbies of this world, the Whiskers of this world, and so on. We will not relent, and we will succeed. So activism is also part of how to break the bias. We have made a point, and I am very, very confident that we will succeed. But we also need to commend those men that stood by us. So we need those male champions that understand that it is the general interest to get this thing done. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've taken more than my time, and I thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Fantastic. You can even take much more time, because we have learned a lot from you this afternoon. Thank you for setting the tone for this discussion. We appreciate you. We love the impact that you make across the nation, and of course within Nkatandi Igbo. Thank you so much, our distinguished keynote speaker. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce to us three very distinguished personalities who would speak around the subject matter of today, who would also add their voices to the discussions that we have just had now, and then we will take questions and answers. And I'd like to start with another distinguished personality, and she is in the name of Mrs. Saudat Salami. And I would also like to read her profile very quickly. Saudat Salami is the founder and chief executive officer of Easy Shop, Easy Cook. And this is a foremost multi-platform technology-driven fresh grocery delivery company in Nigeria. The first of its kind that uses technology to provide domestic support services to working professionals. If you listen to our keynote speaker today, she spoke extensively about women swapping roles. Maybe that's when women will be better compensated. But out of her visionary work to alleviate the issues, problems, and challenges that women face, having multiple and dual role, working and climbing the corporate organizations, as well as holding down family, Saudat set up the Easy Shop, Easy Cook, which helps to drive different engagement, commercial engagement online. So you can sit wherever you are. That's how to do your daily shopping and daily supplies from every single thing that you need, from your bathroom to your kitchen to your pantry, as much as you want to. So with her strong doggedness and commitment to driving positive changes for women's growth, wealth creation, job creation, and development in Africa, she also set up an initiative on personal home shopping, business, and growing your own food business, She also has trained, mentored, and empowered over 300 women and stay-at-home moms to set up and digitize home businesses within the food sector. What an impressive way to catalyze growth. So beyond herself, she's also taught many women her trade. Excellent. And these businesses also serve as platform to provide support services to working women. So she's set up for herself and she set it up to also help other women. Saudat is a certified entrepreneurship and business coach that eloquently incorporates practical spiritual life coaching strategies to help new entrepreneurs grow. She's an African woman. She's an African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative alumna. She's a United States IVLF alumna. She's a Vital Voices Grow Fellow. She's a Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Scholarship recipient. She's an alumni of the Certificate in Entrepreneurship Management Program at EDC, an arm of the Pan-African University, also known as the Lagos Business School. And she's an alumna of Faith Foundation Aspiring Entrepreneurship Program. She's not only excited about entrepreneurship, she's learned it everywhere and she is bringing it to life. Saudat is an active associate member of WIMBIZ, and she's a member of the We Connect International Series, the Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce, the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, and so many others. She is therefore bringing significant knowledge and learning and insight to today's deliberation. We'll also be having Ms. Ebere Ifendo, who is the president of Women in Politics Forum. She is a woman with a strong sense of direction and purpose. She's the director of the Center for Gender Education and Rights of Gregory University in Uturu, Abia State. She is the National Publicity Secretary of Labour Party, one of the 4 major political parties in Nigeria. She's the first woman to hold the position in Nigeria. She was the former women leader on the Labour Party before she took the bold steps to contest for the post of Publicity Secretary. Amazing, great feat. She's also presently the president of the Women in Politics Forum, and her dream for Nigeria and indeed African women, her dream for Nigeria and indeed African women in general is to see that they are appreciated and given their rightful place as strong, intelligent, and hardworking, strong, intelligent, and sorry about that. Yeah, strong, intelligent, and hardworking women who have been key players in nation building. Give it up for this great woman who is doing great things and has done so many, many, many great things. And another very important personality we would also be introducing to us today is Mr. Mazi Ezoke. He is the founder of Njenje Media Television. He's done enormous things with regards to leveraging communication and world-class modern-day communication platforms to bring the causes of women to the fore. Mr. Njenje, like many love to call him, given the foundation and visionary work that he does at his own founded Njenje TV, has worked with enormous personalities all over the world. He covers news, he covers contemporary discussions and narratives and great things that make it possible for us to understand the news developments around the world. He's a veteran with regards to social causes. He's a very dynamic personality and individual who likes to extend the success of projects and programs. So we therefore welcome these 3 personalities as our panelists. I would like to invite these 3 personalities to come up on video so we can share thoughts on the things that they have done and the areas of their presentation today. We can also glean in addition to the very, very wonderful by the keynote speaker. So Ms. Saudat Salami, please spotlight her. Mazi Ezoke, please spotlight him. Ms. Ebere Ifendo, please spotlight her as well. Hello, Mazi Ezoke, nice to have you here.
Nice to have you people. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, I do know that you have certain things to share with us, especially the discussions around breaking the bias, bringing the gender equality gap for a sustainable future. I'd also ask Ms. Saudat and Ms. Barrister Ebere Fendu to come up and share their own thoughts as well. I see that they are in the room, and I notice that they are also on mute, and I do not know why. And please, if you are in this room, please unmute yourself and share your thoughts. Would like to go with Barrister Ifendo, and then Saudat, and then Mazi is okay in that order.
Okay.
Ifendo, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so very much. Yes. We know that you have 5 minutes to share your thoughts and glean on the speech by the keynote. Please go ahead and tell us what you think about your voice, your power as part of the process of breaking the bias in politics through advocacy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, Noha, Iyom Josephine, and Nene. Let me comment first Nkatandi Inyom for this wonderful conference. I'm happy we are having it, and I pray that we'll continue to have sections like this to talk about other issues outside the politics as it affects women.
Distinguished barrister, may I ask you to look at the audio for a while? Are you able to just share?
Yeah, I'm open. You can hear me.
I mean, like to expand your volume so that you can be more audible. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
We can hear you better now. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks. So, like I was saying, I said earlier that I appreciate Iyom and her team, the Nkatandi Inyom team. It's a wonderful opportunity to have these conversations. I most sincerely appreciate the keynote speaker. I was so engrossed listening to her, picking points, she actually, set the tone for this conversation. So thank you very much, my sister. Now, from what she said, I'm going to be taking it from equity, the equity point of view that she talked about. She said we should differentiate, from going after equality and then, towards equity. Well, for me, I think that whichever way we look at it, what women are asking for is actually an opportunity, for fair hearing, an opportunity to participate, an opportunity to collaborate, an opportunity, to show their skills, their potentials in governance, in economy, in building the home and every other aspect of life. So for me, I've been asked to speak, on politics. It's very important for us, first of all, to understand that because of patriarchal, system that our society is made of, women are not really given an opportunity to participate in politics. And our modern day heroine of politics, Iyom Josephine and Nene, try to break the bias, try to work towards having a seat at the table and also grooming younger people to be able to do that also. I am part of one of the people, younger women that Iyom groomed, and I took it off from her, and I've been able to groom younger women coming after me, and started an academy where young women are groomed to join politics, and that's running across the geopolitical zones. And I hope that with 2023 and beyond, we'll be looking at having more women participate in politics. So how do we break the bias using our voice, like you asked me? It's important for us to know that advocacy is a good tool. We have used advocacy in different times, at different times to look at how women can participate in politics. But from what happened on March 1st at the National Assembly, showed that advocacy is no longer enough to achieve some of these things. We had a lot of advocacy. We reached out to the political class. We reached out to political stakeholders, this time not the political class themselves, stakeholders like the business people, WIMBIs, and then all the other people around their business who, participate in politics from behind. We reached out to traditional rulers, we reached out to traditional rulers and the religious leaders actually from amongst the Muslim and the Christian religion. We thought we had done every kind of advocacy needed to be given an opportunity. Several events happened even before the final day of voting. Advocacy that was led by the first lady of the country, advocacy that the second lady of the country came on board, the Minister for Women Affairs, women leaders and all that. Still, we were at the National Assembly. The advocacy didn't help us. All the five bills centered around women failed. The 5 bills. And then you begin to wonder what went wrong. Now we have eliminated advocacy because for us, advocacy towards those bills. Now we are looking at what next should we be doing if advocacy is not working out. So immediately we came out from the National Assembly, bruised, hurt, beaten, battered. We started asking ourselves, what next? And I said to them, I said, I'm a believer of East African kind of activism. They use the carrot and stick approach. We've used advocacy. That advocacy meant that, we're ready to work with the men. We're ready to make amendments, adjustments where necessary. But since advocacy didn't work out, can we try something beyond advocacy? And this was what led to us Nigerian women deciding to occupy the National Assembly. We had it the first day. The first day they came out, not the leadership of the parliament, but few members of parliament, and we said to them, no, we need to deal with the leadership. And they thought women would get tired and leave the place. Unfortunately, women were more energized. On a daily basis, we were having more women come to join the protest. At no point did we have less than 1,000 women every day for the 10 days we were there. So they realized that women decided to work together, decided to take the bull by the horn. And what happened? On the 10th day, they were already being inconvenienced. On the 10th day, the leadership of the House of Assembly came out to meet with Nigerian women, made commitments, because initially it was a press release that they will be, for the House of Representatives, they will be rescinding 3 out of the 5 bills. But we needed to hear from the leaders of the parliament themselves. And on the 10th day, they came out and they talked to us, and we have given them 2 weeks as agreed by the 2 parties. Failure to have those bills, represented and voted, Nigerian women will go back to occupy the National Assembly. And maybe after that, it will no longer be National Assembly. It will be something beyond going to the National Assembly. So why am I saying this? Advocacy is very good, but at the same time, we have to also, learn to say enough is enough and take a more stringent action against the National Assembly. So while we were having a peaceful demonstration, we were outside the gates of the National Assembly. On the 10th day, women broke the barricade and got into the National Assembly. I think somebody's mic is open and is interfering.
Please can everybody put their mics on mute so we don't distract the speakers. Please proceed, Barrister. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. So we were actually every day standing outside the National Assembly gate. Yes, they got the heat because they had to struggle to go in through the back gate. We knew they had a back gate, but we needed them to go in there and do the right thing. And so on the 10th day, some women broke the barricade and entered the National Assembly, and they knew it was coming closer to them. It was at that point that they had to come out to address Nigerian women. So while I'm advocating for advocacy, I'm also advocating for more stringent measures by women to take the bull by the horn. I give us another example. In PDP, we were part of the people that went to PDP, made commitments, made presentations to PDP on what having more women in their party leadership and in every aspect of governance within the party, what it will bring into the party. PDP or not, PDP put it in their constitution, 35% affirmative action. Implementation is still the problem. This implementation, I think our mother Young will testify, it took Women in Politics Forum to hold a press conference against PDP and also threatened to go to court against PDP for violation of their constitution. With members of PDP like Ayom, Josephine and Nene, there was a consensus and they arrived at the PDP will look at how to implement affirmative action. I wasn't satisfied, but of course I wasn't going to let my mother down. But I'm just saying this because if you have something in your constitution, what are you talking about implementation again? What stops you from knowing how to implement it? It's as easy as everything. 35% positions for women. PDP lost the opportunity. In their structure today, we still have a woman leader. And that's the only position for us in the working committee of PDP. Today, tomorrow, APC will be having their convention. We sent a memorandum to APC. They included affirmative action in their draft constitution. The draft constitution will be ratified by the convention tomorrow. But because of what we did, and then the fear of what Nigerian women did, at the National Assembly, APC decided across the states to work with the 3 positions for women as delegates. And I give kudos to them for doing that. It shows that parties are listening. I'm saying this because it was not advocacy that got this one for us. It was what Indians will call Zindabad. We no go agree. And then coming out to say, truly, truly, we don't go agree, So advocacy is beautiful. Advocacy is everything. But beyond advocacy and the rest, what do we really need to get women, more women participate in politics? We've talked about the gender bills. And the most annoying of the gender bills, I tell you, the provision for indigenship. What is difficult for a woman to own, to have indigenship of her husband after 5 years of marriage? Nigerian men voted against it. Most of them are married to women that are not from their communities. And so the women will continue to float. By marriage, you are expected to join your husband, but you get to your husband's place, you're not treated as a member of the community. You come out to contest election, they will tell you, go back to your place. You go back to your father's place, they will tell you, no, you no longer belong here, you have your husband's place. And it means that a woman is somebody who does not have any bearing anywhere, so will continue to float. Look at citizenship. Most Nigerian men, I tell you, are married to foreigners from America, from London, Canada, and the rest. Why do they do that? To get citizenship of those countries. A Nigerian woman is married to a foreign spouse. She cannot even make her husband a citizen of Nigeria. As beautiful as Nigeria is, she still cannot give her husband citizenship of Nigeria. And men voted against this. And so you begin to wonder what played out. Was it that they did not understand the provisions of the bills? Because if they actually did understand the provisions of the bills, they would have known that indigenship and citizenship are the least they can do for women. Give women affirmative action to contest elections by getting nominated as candidates is a huge problem. We said, okay, can we get the political parties in their constitution put affirmative action? Funny enough, we have heard from so many political parties in that direction. And one of the parties we supported, pro bono, to amend their constitution, called me after that presentation and said, are you people now forcing us to put it in the constitution? I said, sir, but you already have it in your constitution. So what we are talking about is implementation. So it shouldn't be your worry if genuinely you wanted to do that. But this tells you that they will put in affirmative action in the constitution, they will never implement it. And then so we needed the constitution to talk about it. If it's in the constitution, everybody, every political party will find a way around it and make sure affirmative action is there. So all political parties, for me, must ensure that they take deliberate steps to ensure that women participate. 2023 is around the corner. Primaries will end in June. Women are buying nomination forms, expression of interest forms. They have shown that they want to participate. The problem is when it comes to nomination of candidates, there will still be consensus. There will still be zoning. They won't make it open for every person or woman who is interested to contest to have an opportunity to contest and be voted for. So how are we going to stop this? Like we threatened the National Assembly. We said women, I mean, they gave us a reason to come together as Nigerian women. We are not letting go of that bond. We are going to go around to all the states and all the zones to ensure that women register and have their PVCs. It's not going to just be to have your PVCs, but to vote the right people, especially vote for women. We said to them, if you are not giving us a space, we are going to create that for ourselves. And that means we are going to vote the men out. We have asked for the list of the men that didn't vote for women. They are still holding on to the list. But again, by next week, we are going to use the FOI because we are going to court to demand that National Assembly will release it. It's a public document. We put them there, we pay their salary. So they have to ensure that we have the list. The essence of having the list is for us to know the people to vote out and create more opportunities for women to get to parliament so that issues concerning women will be practically taken care of. Look at the health sector. Nothing is happening. Education, students are on strike. If women are there, at the National Assembly, they will understand what it means to have your child stay back at home and not be in school. They will understand why healthcare is something that must be taken care of. Men think, their belief is that once they provide money, everything is sorted out. No. At this time, I want to even say that women are now breadwinners. In over 70% of homes, women are now breadwinners. So we are already part of the system. The only place that they are taking us away is the political system. How can we now get on board? We can only get on board when women decide to vote for women. Get on board when women begin to decide who will represent them. I like what is happening in APC today. They brought that list of people to, consensus list. They are working against it. People are working against it. People are saying, no, we're not going to go with a consensus list. We want to be part of the system. Let us meet at the Eagle Square and get voted either in or out. But people now are saying that we must learn to hold on to what is rightfully ours. So I want to end here by saying that we'll do our part as Nigerian women. We'll continue to hold political parties accountable. But most importantly is for political parties to be deliberate. I say it, with every sense of responsibility. If political parties are not deliberate to ensure that women participate in politics, women also will learn a new dance step. And that dance step, by 2023, most of these people that are not supporting women will not have an opportunity because the sensitization is going to the grassroots. And for what Nkatandi Inyom is doing, I will employ them also to ensure that voter education, political education, sensitization, should be at the forefront of whatever they are doing for our women to learn and to understand why they have to participate in politics. And if we do that, it will ensure that more women will participate in politics. I thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to other opportunities for me to, have this kind of interactive session with my sisters. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Please don't go away because there are definitely going to be the questions and answer interactive time when we'll come back to you. And I do love the passion with which you have delivered your message today, speaking to us about the fact that women are actually simply speaking for opportunity for fair hearing, which is the reason why advocacy is very good. Reminding us also that the system is naturally patriarchal, and which means there are already limitations to women and what they are able to do. You've reminded us also that advocacy is good, but we must take bold steps and take actions to be able to bring about the changes that we desire. And thanks again to you and your team and all of the other ladies who brought the National Assembly to a standstill. Your remarkable work did bring significant progress to that process. Thank you for all of the things that you've shared with us today, and we would come back to you shortly. Would like to also invite at this time Mrs. Saudat Salami. Please step up and share your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to share my screen if I'm able. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please go ahead and share your screen.
Right.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you, and you too. Okay, I'm here to talk about tech, and I want to say, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Njenje for that delivery. He encompassed everything we're here to talk about today, and I I just support everything she's saying. I rather equity than equality. Equity gives us more. Equity recognizes our uniqueness. Equity gives us power. Equity gives us so much more. And unfortunately, from one of the gender bills was turned down because they were tossing between the word equity and equality. Some people, equality was in the books, and some people said they had to change it to equity. And they refused to change it to equity. And I was like, wow, equity would do so much more for women than equality, because men can sit on that equality and just say, well, me too, I'm not going to war if the woman is not going to war, because that is equality. But if we say equity, you can get away with a lot of things with equity. Anyway, that aside, and again, congratulations and well done, Barrister Ifendu. That was a lot that you people did. I'm a member of WIMBIS, and I know that we were, just rooting for all of you. And I could not imagine after 10 days or so, they listened and they said they were going to do something to a few of the bills, and we're all looking forward to what they will say. And this is what we all need to do, whether it's all in all the sectors that we are in and in every position, we have to speak up. And from the topic I'm speaking today is about tech, the tech sector. Women have always been in tech. Women have been everywhere. We have done everything. And the question we need to ask ourselves today, where did the bias come from? And when did the bias start? And
I'm sorry to interrupt you just for 1 second, Ms. Sadat Salami.
Okay.
I thought I should also re-echo one more time, because it seems I missed that. The subject matter that you want to lend your voice on, and that is stemming forward. Of course, we know that STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and driving women to get into those practices that seems like prerogative for men.
Yes.
I'm being a very versatile individual who has also leveraged technology to grow and to expand her business and teach other women, like we read in her profile. She will be speaking to us today on stemming forward, smashing the barriers that women face in technology, just to set the ground for the wonderful delivery that we'll be hearing from her today.
Thank you so much, Chizo. Okay. Like I said, women have been in STEM, they've been in tech. It is not new. This picture I have that you can see is in the 1800s. This is Ada Lovelace. She was the first computer programmer. Her mother was her teacher. She was homeschooled. So you can imagine, from 1800s, October 2nd is being celebrated as Ada Lovelace Day. Women have been there. We've been doing what the men have been doing. Mary Van Britten Brown, she's a nurse. And what did she do? She wanted to know in her house when someone knocks the door without going there. She and her husband rigged some things together and got the patent for home security system. So when you have a CCTV at home today, just know that you're the woman that is responsible for that. This is 1900s. These women that you can see in front of you work in NASA. NASA, all the programming languages, most of the programming languages were designed by women. This is ages ago. A lot of women have always been behind the scenes doing software development. And the reason why they were not forward was because software is back office. The men were in front with the machines. But you see those big machines, without the software, they cannot work. Your mouse on your laptop, if there's no software that these women have written, the mouse will not be able to connect to the laptop. Everything you can see, software, women were the first software developers, because men thought that it was just a back office thing and they left them. It's just now that they started celebrating this. This is 1800s and 1900s. We've always been there, but we were not forward. They did not recognize us, right? Let's go to now. Sorry, okay. Closer to home in 2000s, this is YouTube. When you put on your YouTube and you watch everything in the world and you want to watch videos and the affirmations and whatever, remember a woman started that. The Google advert, the Google YouTube page, a woman started that. She's the CEO. She's the one that started it. She doesn't even have a tech background. STEM is about science, technology, engineering, and math. Women have been there before. All the Nobel Prizes, all the chemistry, physics, geology. If you read the history books, women have always been there. All the Nobel Prize, some of them, they gave the Nobel Prize to the wives. They gave to the husband instead of the wives. They gave the patent to the husband instead of the wives. So women have always been there. There's nothing like women should just step forward now. What we should be thinking about is how we can be brave. Like this woman said, if you heard of TED Talk, if you're hearing TED Talk today, if this woman that started it, and she was the one, she started TED Talk, she's in STEM. And when she did not get something, she decided to start a girls' code. Now she has something that trains girls not only to code, but to be brave, because she realized that a lot of us don't step forward. I was on the radio a few days ago, and we're talking about the elections. And one of the things we found out, even with color calling in, is that some of these political parties, they've reduced the fees for women to get the forms. Some of the political parties even said the women should get the forms free. But women did not step forward. Representation matters. We have less than 9% of the people in National Assembly that are women. That's the highest we have ever had. The highest we have ever had. And we have 30% already. So these are the things. Sometimes we are not brave. Sometimes we don't step forward. It's not as if we don't do these things. Over the years, we have done anything. We have never taken permission. We only gave notice. I am here. I am here. Now, so many of us are looking for permission, looking for men to just say, come, oh yeah, you to come and take. That is how we should look at it. Sheryl Sandberg is the CEO of Facebook. Facebook did not make a dime until this woman came on board. Facebook, as you know it today, started making money when this woman came, when they employed this woman a few years ago. She's also the author of Lean In. You should get the book and read. These are women that decided to be brave and they step forward. And when you are in STEM, like I said, is science, is tech, is all that. But you can be in, like Susan said, though we do need more women to graduate with technical degrees, I always like to remind women that you don't need to have science or tech degrees to build a career in tech. Wazia had a career, a background in business. But she's in a big tech company, YouTube. Sheryl Sandberg also had the background in business, Harvard. But she is the CEO of Facebook. Without her, Facebook would not have made a dime. We've always been in tech. And tech, when you think about tech, a lot of people think, oh, it's all about coding. Tech is not just about coding. Tech is a sector. Imagine oil and gas in those days when everybody wanted to go into oil and gas. You can be a lawyer, you be in oil and gas, you be in the legal sector. You can you can have a business degree and you have a department in the oil and gas. There's no degree that you will not have that you will not be there. But you are in the oil and gas sector. This is the same thing for the tech. Tech is the new sector, is the baby sector that everybody wants to go in. But science, engineering and math is what we want a lot of women to do, but we have made them think that it is a male thing. It is not a male thing, like I've showed you. All women have gone to anything they wanted to do. We just need to change our mindset. And I'm also of the opinion that we need to own some of these problems. We are naturals. Women are naturals. We are part of those that told our children that is not where you should be. That is what boys should do. We're part of those that started the bias, right? So we need to own this thing as well. As we're trying to blame the men, let us also take our own blame and change. We are the custodians of culture. All the horrible traditional practices that hold us back to do some of these things, we need to take ownership that we are among those that insist on it. All the widow rights, all the marriage rights, all the whatever it is that is holding women back, we are part of those that will be forcing our daughter-in-law, our mother-in-law, our daughters, our this to say, no, this is what a woman should do. Let us own it as well. Men have their place, men have their things to hold. We also have our own. When our daughters are trying to get all the degrees and do whatever, let mothers stop telling them, when are you bringing your husband? You are reading all the book. When are you doing this? Yeah, it is part of the thing that we're doing. We have left our boys, our sons to do all those things, but we are now shouting on our daughters. So let's own it as well, because we are 50% of the population. If each of us is able to manage our own home and change whatever we do not like in the society in our own home, we can do a lot. These men are our husbands, they are our sons, they are our brothers. Anything we tell them, they can do. We are the custodians of this tradition. Let us take ownership, each and every one of us. Anything our children want to study, let us encourage them. Don't say, no, you cannot do this because, no, you cannot. There's nothing a woman cannot do. Maths, physics, engineering. In the history books, when I was researching for this conference, I saw women doing everything in all sectors. So we have no reason to be held back. These are today's women, my lovely sisters. This is Nkem. Nkem has a quote. She says, no woman chooses to be poor, but we can choose to help a poor woman by investing in her. Nkem started with helping women in neighborhood and giving them stipends so that they can start their business. She also has, she has this liquid soap company. She made that because she realized that some women are not entrepreneurs. It's not everybody that wants to open a shop. It's not, entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's not everybody that wants that. So she thought to herself, if I set up a business and I employ these people and we sell this soap, I can pay them. Some people want to be employees. They do not want to be employers. She did that. Then for other women that want to set up their business, she started giving them money. From there, she was able to create an application. That's why she's under the mama money. She doesn't have a tech background, but she has solutions she wants to use to solve problems. And they were able to create an application for her. Look at her being honored here as one of the Nigerian women in tech. She's in the tech sector now. Presently, I think she's in Dubai or so. She's doing a tech incubation course right now, right? So that they can expand and scale her business so that she can loan and give women loans through the application. Women have always been there. I don't see Nkem taking permission anywhere. I don't see her asking anybody, saying, can I do this? Can I step in? We need to be brave. We need to give notice. Don't take permission from anybody. Just step forward. And I've seen a number of men. I've been privileged that I've not been held back, and I know that a lot of women are still being held back. But I've seen a lot of men that don't care. They're not the one holding you back. You just didn't step forward. You just didn't try. Look at Life Bank. Life Bank is Temi Giwa Tubofun. What does she do? She delivers blood. She had a bad experience when she was pregnant, and she lost blood. And it was difficult for them to give her blood. This experience traumatized her. When she came out of it, she promised herself that she would not let any other woman do this. That's what women do. We take problems and we turn them into solutions for the society. It is my problem, societal problem. We can do so much. She now has a tech company that you can order blood, you can order a blood bank, you can order oxygen, and you can order drugs all around Africa. She just opened in Ethiopia. She has opened in Kenya, and I think she's in Rwanda, right? And look at Odun. Odun has a lot of companies, but she's known for PiggyVest. PiggyVest is the normal piggy bank that we all put money in, and she and her friends, they just decided to create an application where you will just be saving. Her platform has helped many, many, many women save. Her and a friend as well that has also done a lot of things. They've come together to set up another tech company that gives women that want to start new startups their first investment. So as a young woman that you want to run your own tech business and you're looking for investors, they are saying that, look, we know what we went through when we're running our own business. Now we have made some money. We want to now put this money aside and be your first investors. So they are using their platform to pull other women up. That is what we do. These girls, these women, did not take permission. There are so many women in agri-tech, Dr. Amao is also there. I mean, she was on a platform that I was in yesterday. She has done so well. She was in her own, she was the only woman in her class when she was in her university in London. She got her doctorate degree at the age of 23. She has broken many boundaries. And you know what she's doing now? She has also set up a platform to pull many women up and girls for STEM. So science, engineering, tech, maths. In school, women do well. Girls do well in school. Why did this change? What changes? When you get to the office, at the bottom of the pyramid, at the bottom of entry level of every office, over 48% of them are women. Where did they go? Why are we now looking for women in the workforce? Why? And this comes to these numbers. Dr. Njenje talked about all the responsibility a woman has. And these are the things that hold women back. We make all the decisions in the house. We overwork ourselves at home and nobody is paying for it. 4.1 hours the average woman does at home. But unpaid work, the man does 1.5. 48%, like I said before, at the entry level of most of the workforce. You see so many women are there. But by the time they're getting married, by the time they're having children, they drop off because of domestic responsibilities. By the time they get to the boardroom, they're 10%. So many things are holding the woman back at home. Healthcare, childcare, adult care, all that. Then we add to it. No, you're a wife. You cannot go to work. You cannot leave your children. All those things. The thing is, it is on us, women. It is on us. Let us take responsibility. Men have their own. Let us find out where we're wrong. Let us step forward and pick up these forms. Pick up these forms because, like Barrister Fendu said, advocacy will not work for us again enough. Representation. If we had more women in that house, we would not have had this problem. They would have spoken for us. Because when they were debating and when they were drafting this thing, there were not enough women in that room to talk for us. And if people are not talking for you when they are writing this thing, it's not that they don't hate you, but nobody has heard your cry. Nobody has heard your pain. Nobody knows exactly how it feels. The men don't know how we carry our babies. They don't know how we do our period. They don't know how it affects us psychologically when you're on your period. They do not know. How are they going to make legislation for us? So these are the things that we need to look at as we're talking today and we are breaking this bias. We break the bias, but we look at our own, how we contribute to that bias. From our home, what do we tell our girl child? What do we tell our boy? What do we tell our husband? What do we tell our brothers? Let's ask ourselves that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The summary is let's change our own narrative by ourselves. Let's take action and make the changes. I love what you've done with reminding us that women have always been in tech and engineering and medicine and all of the great things that seem magical, science, astronomy, and all that. It's a great reminder that also women come into businesses, they turn it around, make it profitable, make it successful. What's a bigger example or better example than Sheryl Sandberg, who has totally transformed Facebook and all of the other related operations in Meta, because they are borrowing from that to turn around all of their subsidiaries like WhatsApp and Instagram. And she's brought a lot of transformation to that business. It's also good to speak to us about the fact that women are nurturers. It is all of the stories that we've told our children over generation that they are going by. So let's change our stories and make it possible for women to also tell other women that they can do it, tell their children that they can do it, drive their children in the right direction, push and pursue all of us into the right place, and more importantly, own our stories, create visibility, tell the world the great things that we are doing and women are doing as we inspire many others. It's fantastic the way that you have thrown out a lot of women who are indeed doing it. Nkem is one of the most remarkable ones you've shared today. Thank you so much for that very wonderful delivery. And we would come back to you again for a few questions. Don't go away. At this time, we would like to say a big thank you to Saudat as we bring in Mazi Njenje. Mazi is okay. Mazi, please step forward again. I do love the Njenje name, so if you hear it a lot of time, it simply says that your brand is big. Are you in the room?
Thank you. Yes, I am here. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. So as I introduce and bring back Mazi Ezoke to this discussion today, I had said it sometime earlier that he is indeed a he for she. He does a lot of advocacy for the causes that concerns women, and he is true to that calling. But we are here today to hear him speak around breaking the bias, bridging the gender equality gap for a sustainable future. How can we make it happen? And what's the role of men in all of that too?
Thank you very much. I think, I think I'm standing on the existing protocol, and, standing on the existing protocol leaves me, and I have looked around, I feel blessed, as we say in Igbo within the Catholic folds, Ademungozin Netiti, that means I am the only man amongst the so many women here, and I feel
I'm blessed for being the only man as well.
And I feel so honored to be the only man, and I feel so privileged to be called upon to speak about this. Now, I wouldn't probably go, and first I must also thank the keynote speaker for the in-depth knowledge that she shared, and all the speakers before me for really bringing these issues to fore. Now, my my intervention here is on breaking the bias, and bridging the gender equality gap for a sustainable future. Now, I think without further ado, I will quickly want to explore, how do we break bias? What is actually this bias in question? Or rather, I rephrase to say, what biases are there to break? Can we define it? And we can basically begin to look at it as bias. Or rather, break the bias means creating a climate in which people, and in this case, women, can feel inspired, that they can feel equipped, and they feel supported to attain that which they want to do. That means stereotypes, discriminations, the barriers that are there to inhibit them from attaining that goal is not there. How and do we create the environment that is diverse, that is equitable, and that is inclusive for women to thrive? So if these are the, if this is the concept of breaking that bias, then the question that would arise therefrom would be, what are the common biases? Growing up, we normally, I can't forget this, when we do biology, we say, what are the characteristics of XYZ? What are we looking out for? On international scene, which I believe most of the audience here are from the diaspora community, you talk about race, you talk about your ethnicity. Obviously, the reason why we are here is the gender. There are issues around religion, sexual orientation, social economic background, educational background. Having looked at all this, it reminds me of the International Women's Day campaign team for the 2020, which has the hashtag. I never knew as of that point that I was busy tweeting on Twitter that I will be called upon to speak on this. That team was Break the Bias. Now, imagine a world where we have equal opportunity. Imagine a gender equal world. That is the way they looked at it, calling everyone, both men and women, to say, pause for a moment, think about it. Imagine a world that is gender equal, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. Can we imagine a world that is so diverse, equitable, and inclusive, as I've alluded before? A world where difference is valued and celebrated. The last speaker talked about women who are celebrated. Talk about women who, obviously without any knowledge in tech, have taken the decision to plunge themselves into this uncharted water. And not only that they did, they actually succeeded. Now, the question would be, do we actually give them the right recognitions that they deserve? Most times, I think not. If we come down here in Nigeria, we look around, we have Amina at the United Nations, we have Dr. Okonjo Iweala at the World Trade Organization. Even in this forum, we have Mrs. Njoku here, and we have Iyom, Chief Josephine Iyom here in our midst. So many women that have done so many things for us. Now, again, if we put all these things again together, it reinforces what the previous speaker spoke about. Question that I would also want to bring is, why does gender equality, or rather, I rephrase, why does it seem that gender equality is important towards or to economic development, which forms part of the key issues or the key points that I'm making this evening? Question then is, if this is so important to our development, sustainable development, does it really give us the notion and the idea of really driving it forward without any discrimination? Yes, of course, we can all agree that women are being discriminated, against. There is obviously gender gap. There is gender inequality. How do we close this gender inequality in order to help us develop for the future? We know that many things that happen today, as someone jokingly said, do we think we will be having a war in Ukraine if the presidents of both countries were women? It sounded like a joke initially. But actually, when you think about it, do we here think that that would happen if both presidents were women? And I say, very, very unlikely that that will happen. Now, does it mean that the world is actually missing something because we do not appear to have enough women in the role of leadership? That's a rhetorical question. Women and girls are not being fairly and well represented. How do we end gender inequality? Ending this discrimination, as the previous speaker said before the last speaker, there are laws. But these laws, are they being implemented? She talked about how the political party in Nigeria, even the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, have this gender law, but never implemented. What then could one do if such occur, and we see it occur every time? She is of the opinion that advocacy doesn't, it probably, they've gone beyond advocacy. And I would say, respectfully, maybe not. You know, we say, pardon me if I always refer to my mother tongue, which is Igbo. That is the first language I ever knew as a child. And if I have this to say, which is, "Asị na onye na-analụbeghị ga na-ana nne gị," that means he who hasn't gotten to his destination must continue going. In advocacy, many things in life were achieved via advocacy. You talk about voting rights. You talk about, when Martin Luther King was leading the agitation that he led. There is two parts to this. While you engage in this advocacy, get ready to fill the gap. There is a gap that sometimes I do believe as a man that is created naturally by sometimes people not being willing to take advantage of certain situations. And also, there are areas where people haven't really been supported enough. And in ending this, the proposition here is, yes, there ought to be laws, and that we continue the advocacy for these laws to be implemented. If these laws are not implemented, they are as good as, tissue paper. But how can we get them implemented? By getting involved. By the time more women get involved, drive it. I mean, when we look at it, it's sadly, statistically, we do not have the actual figure in terms of male to female in Nigeria. Obviously, our census is that old. But if we look at it from a general perspective, that we more likely have more women than men. Question is, why are more women not taking active participation in also helping to end gender inequality? The answers could be very obvious. One, we talk about education. If someone does something that you do not know that these things are actually your right, because you do not know, because you're not exposed, you do not have that prerequisite, you do not have that education enough to know that this happened. I was discussing with someone recently. He said, "Oh, why is it that when African men move their wives abroad, suddenly their wives grow wing, blah, blah, blah?" And I said, well, maybe we haven't thought about the question the other way around. Could it be that the men, because of the cultural environment, that's accorded them some certain privileges that may be the environment that they now find themselves does not necessarily accord them? And when that is not the case, then something breaks down. It tells us a story that we have to be very conscious about this bias. There is a bias, obviously. If you look back again and look at a United Nations report of 2021, it says there are 131 countries that have over 274 gender-related reforms to law and regulations over the past decades. However, it is also estimated that over more than 2.5 billion women and girls live in countries with at least in these, where we talk about this discrimination, that they have at least one discriminatory law on their books. It means and reinforces what my sister said before, that it is not about being in the books, but it is about being implemented. When we talk about cultures around us, there are instances where women are still unable to make decisions, obviously, to the ones we all know here in the mother continent of Africa and Nigeria in particular, regarding marriage, divorce, and most cases, child custody. Here, it is a common practice that people now hear if anything happens and it gets to the point of divorce, that not many people actually pay attention to note that most times, if the woman is not that exposed or educated, there is no conversation on who has the custody. The custody is like something is already decided. Oh, it is the practice, it is the law. How do we fight this? Like I said before, by those laws, ensuring that these laws are protected, ensuring that these laws are implemented, eradicating poverty through gender responsive social protection and public services. Obviously, I do not know the last time someone goes out here and walks on a street and sees something like, if you have issues, gender-related issues, call this number. I can't remember the last time I saw it, if I ever saw it around. Therefore, it means there is a lot of work to do. If we need to eradicate this, there must be social protection and public services that should be made available for this to happen. And again, that piggyback on the action of having the legal framework and also implementing the legal framework. The most critical part also, which is very apt on what we talk about here, is closing the leadership gap and unleashing the power of women collective action. What I saw in about 2 weeks ago, the women do, which I consider part of that collective action, that men, some of us weren't there, physically, but at least we cheered you up. We got angry with the National Assembly on your behalf. We also joined you in calling them out. We used our various platforms. We tweeted our lives out. We said, no, this is not right. Look at countries like Rwanda, as the keynote speaker noted. They have achieved 50-50. There are countries that are achieving this. These countries do not have men from the moon. They have men like us, but they've been able to achieve that. So what is wrong in getting these things done? Of course, it can be done. Well, as it is, we will continue to support the women, to people like myself. When I say we, people like myself, there is this notion also culturally that says, oh, women don't own property. And I say, well, as a man, what we must, my fellow men watching me now globally, because this event is being streamed globally on multiple platforms. What I would then advise my fellow men to do is be that light and be that change you want. Women, if our forefathers made mistakes out of ignorance, say, my girl wouldn't inherit certain properties, we don't need to. We don't even need any law to change it. You acquire those properties, it's yours. Make that change yourself. Bequeath those properties equally amongst your children, irrespective of their gender. Now, the big elephant in the room, I would conclude with this, is entirely how do we break this gender inequality gap for sustainable future? I say we can end that by empowering our women in our homes and in our workplaces. There is this notion, there is this that everybody also notices, that in most workplaces, there are more men than women in high-level positions. That translates even in the political sphere that you have more men than women. The gender pay gap also persists in many places. That's also that you see in a company, you see men doing certain jobs, you see the women appears to be the ones given the menial job. That is a clear case of gender inequality. Having said that, we look at what else could happen, or what else can we do to improve this to get us to where we want to be.
At this rate, it's obvious that Mercy is okay. It's going to be keynote for a massive national conference on women issues. You definitely need over an hour to teach and lecture us. Your nuggets are enormous, they are humongous. My notebook is full, but I'm also noting and making sure that all of my sisters at Nkatandi will know that this has to be a conference topic and we must bring him back at some other time. Anyway, just to say, as you wrap up and we wrap up, we have noted that, and I'm just going to very nicely ask, if you're able to wrap up, it would be nice, but I know the points you want to share are excellent. We must definitely bring you back. Back to you again anyway.
Anyway, thank you very much. I wrap up here. I mean, the core issue and the core point to be made here is very simple. To achieve all this, we need a better political representation, especially for the women folk. Political representation in an area with, if we put Nigeria in context with how big Nigeria is and the abysmal representation that women have, is something that ought to change. And again, I implore, as the last speaker said, please, I implore and encourage the women to sometimes stand up for their right. And there are men also, we all know, we all are not monsters. There are men to also help and in amplifying your voice. At least here you have one. I do say, recently we had in the National Assembly, one of them majestically walked in, telling people that he's got so X number of wives with over 26 children. Question that sometimes I ask myself. Now, if I, as a woman, if I, by any chance that I was a woman, would I have gone in there to say that, to agree to something, to be in such environment? The answer is very, very unlikely that will happen. Therefore, what it means is that we must also encourage women to speak up for the things that they do not like, for the things that they do not want, and for them to take stand against some of these things, and also for the men to help in amplifying these voices. On that note, I say thank you very much for having me here. Once more, thank you for this wonderful event.
Thank you so much. You are a truly committed champion and ambassador. We are very, very delighted to be associated with you at Nkatandi Emigo. You not only speak for NNIIA, you also speak passionately for women and any cause that is relative. And excellent engagement today. We like your introduction and the way you started by reminding us that how do we break the bias? That's the real issue, if we even understand what the biases is. And then we want to be able to, by virtue of this, break all stereotypes and all inhibitions and barriers facing and limiting women. Thank you for bringing that clarity. It's instructive also, your mention about the need to create equal opportunities, but also about the fact that both men and women have a role to play. The emphasis is on the fact that even the women who are able to champion the cause, some are too docile and quiet. And so the charge is, what is the role of women How have they been playing actively in creating equality and equity? Which means to us women, we must also bear the responsibility of breaking the seemingly great shackles and limitations identified in any way we can in our spheres, either through our voice, our positions, and the opportunities that we do have. And that's a very strong charge for men as well. If you have the opportunity, change the narrative that even great-grandfathers have set in place. Why can't men also support in giving voice to the cause, as well as doing the ones within their control? Why would you in 21st century bequeath all that you have to your male children when you've got female children? So men also play the game and lead the narration in those areas by practical actions. And I love what you said about let's all be truly committed. But the biggest for me is the fact that there's got to be legal framework around this so that execution is easy. And that's very instructive as far as I'm concerned, because this is about the first time that I'm having these discussions and interaction over the last 20 years, and someone is speaking about legal framework. So it goes beyond advocacy, it goes beyond voice, it goes beyond storytelling, but also to take it to the level of creating legal framework and creating even social structures and helplines that can help for social protection. Thank you so very much for that very insightful share. I'd like to throw the floor open to questions and answers, and I'm going to be looking out for the questions. If you've got any, please drop it at this time so we don't lose sight of it. But while we are there, I'd like to throw the very first question to Saudat, if you are there, and I do know you are. So Saudat, if you can just come up one more time so that we can share more thoughts around the things that you spoke about today. Thank you very much. Now, you spoke very passionately about the people that I would call forerunners, the people who have done these things before, and the people who have also continued to do it. Considering also that you're an extremely great person who is versatile with the use of technology platforms, how do you suggest that women leverage these platforms to tell their stories? Facebook gives us opportunity, and a lot of other social media platforms give us opportunity, but you still find women say, oh, I can't even be on Facebook. I don't want to use Instagram. I don't want my story to be told. I don't want to brag and boast. How do you think that women can truly bring voice and, create the stories that you suggested, so that we are not just talking about women doing great things we don't know, but we can see the women and relate to the women and be able to, take pride and inspiration from their work?
Thank you so much, Eva. I remember attending one of your classes that tells us about how we have to be brave and how the kind of words we need to use to tell our stories. Those are the kind of things women should attend so that they would know how to tell their stories and how to use platforms that are created for them. Platforms are created to magnify your life, your story, your business, and visibility is everything. You can't be winking in the dark. So that is what we have been lacking over the years. That's why I said we've always been there. We have women that have gone to fight wars. They did not take permission. We have lost our bravery. We have lost our bravery when they started telling us that we could not fight anymore. We have to stay back at home. There were times that women were leading the wars. There are still countries that women are ruling. I know this is about how over the years, the culture, we have been the ones saying, we are the custodians of the culture. When color pink came out, it was for men. Men were the ones that started wearing it until women now said it's now a pink thing. High heels, the same thing. Dresses, the same thing. These things are not cast in stone. This is social engineering over time, and we have adopted it to say, oh, women are like this, men are like this. Go to the hotels that I supply every day. Men are the ones in that kitchen cooking for you and I. They dominate kitchen in the hotel. They are the leading chef. So I do not know the story of my wife must know how to cook before I marry her. Excuse me. Men are cooking. Go anywhere. So I think for us to use platform, tech platform, whatever it is, let's just get our bravery back. We have always been brave. We have never taken permission. We always give notice. Let us all just remember that. Do what you need to do, and let's tell these men where their position is, because we are the one that brought them up. They are our sons. So let's put them back in order.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much for the passion. It's always a delight to hear you all the time. And I do love the strong words of bravery. We've demonstrated bravery. We must bring it back. We must take our place in the society. Do we have Barrister around? I'd like to throw one question at her. As a few of those questions are coming, I'll distribute that evenly amongst us. And so, Barrister Ifendu, if you are there, I'd like us to talk about the sort of concrete steps and actions that you think that we can do to break the shackles. Having said to us that advocacy is good, but we must take actions. Are there certain kind of actions that you would like to recommend to women? So as we step on the stage of bravery, like Saudat has mandated, we are also able, being equipped with concrete action. And while we're waiting for Barrister to come on, I'd like to throw this one at you, Mazi Ezeoke. Mazi Ezeoke, I'm very excited about what you said with regards to the social protection. And again, I must reiterate that this is the first time in these discussions in a few years that anybody is coming with the issues of legal framework and social protections. That mean you can call a helpline to report a treatment of inequality or lack of equity and all of that. It does add to the voice and to the story. Would you like to substantiate more on that so we can pick significant action that even women can lead as part of their advocacy program? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean,
Wow.
that, is not something that is something that has never been done before. We have a lot of advocacy group for women that in most times do engage in such. Now, the challenge, however, is these are done on ad hoc basis. It's not out there. One thing that one thing I was alluding to is what should be out there that every young female child would know, either a certain office or a certain number to call when in distress. That's number one. And also, when we talk about the legal framework, that there is, we have what we call, for instance, in Nigeria, what they call the Consumer Protection Agency. Isn't that right to have women right protection agency as well, so that okay, if Mazi Ezeoke has done this to you and you want to seek redress, you have somewhere to go to, and you have a place that without bias, without, as people jokingly say, and someone mentioned it here in the room before, something happens, someone, you get involved in a case of rape, for instance, and you hear the police officer that obviously ought to know that a serious crime has been committed, actually saying, are you sure it didn't happen? Which kind of clothes you wear? Are you sure no be you cousin? You see? So when you hear stuff like that, we have a lot of work to do in order to give it the real framework that is needed legally, and also the social element of it, that it has to be owned. And it's one thing that personally I think the idea that will be anchored on those that are already advocating for this now and to the point that, you know, it will get to a point where probably you now bring in the legal aspect of it or the legislation in order to have that covered properly.
Thank you so very much. That's another insight for us as women as we continue to pursue the cause. And I do see Barrister Ifendo at this time. Would you like to lend your voice to this program as we wrap up? All right. Is there any question anybody would like to throw out to our speakers today? And I'm beginning to get the prompt from the inner room that we must have to finalize the wrap up the sessions in a jiffy as we're nearing 2 hours. Is it not amazing how much learning has happened in the last 2 hours? Amazing stuff. All right. The questions that we had thrown at Barrister Ebere Ifendo was the kind of concrete steps and actions that can be taken. And I think that there are significant nuggets from Mazi's interaction and share today that points to that. Besides advocacy, we can have legal framework, we can have interactions, we can engage with people. Women and men equally must take the mandate and take the role. And so these are all significant pointers to the things that we would do. And very importantly also is to show bravery. Thanks to our eloquent speaker, Saudat, who reminded us of that. Show bravery, take ownership, take it in our strides to be able to share the thoughts of the things that we've done and let the world know. And like they say, you cannot light a beautiful candle and hide it right under the bushel. We must be able to be brave enough to stand on top of the world and toot our horns and speak to the great things that we do. And on my own part, like I always say to women, women must be very ready to hold onto the ladder for other women to step onto the ladders. If there are a greater number of women in the room, then there will be more voice for the women. There will be more opportunity for policy advocates and changes, and there will be more opportunity for mentorship and inspiration. So my own charge personally is that as we continue to drive this equity, equality, however we look at it, women have a critical role to play in not only creating visibility, publicity for the things they do, but in also holding onto the ladder for other women to climb up and opening the doors for other women to come on the room and clearing the table for other women to sit at the table, whether it is a senior leadership position, appointed positions, political positions, or in boardrooms. And on this note, we would like to say thank you for everybody who's tuned in. I'd love to call on the Vice President of Nkata, Dr. Anne Okigbo, to give her closing remark. And our distinguished President General, if you also have a remark, this is the time to bring it on as our Vice President officially gives the vote of thanks to bring this session to a close. Do we have the Vice President in the room? And would you like to share your voice and thoughts? Founder, Chief Mrs. Aneni.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know we had only one man, but we can double him. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Is anybody hearing me? Okay, good.
So he's able.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. All the speakers were so brilliant. And I want to thank Secretary General. I call her the live wire of NNI. And as usual, she has performed spectacularly and she's done us very proud. My gratitude to everybody that's found time in this very busy schedule times to attend this webinar. I've learned so much. I cannot be too grateful for what I have learned today. So once again, I want to thank you all, Njenje, Saudat, Dr. Njenje. Ebere Fendu, she had to leave for a physical meeting. You know, the APC is having their program tomorrow, so all politicians are focusing on them. So thank you all very much, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to do this again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our visionary founder and the woman of impact. On this note, I would like to lend my voice to say thank you to all of our resource persons, our keynote speaker, Dr. Njenje, a woman doing us proud across every aspect of our involvement. Would like to say thank you to you, Saudat, leading the narration and playing the role big time everywhere that you are. Thank you so very much, Barrister Ifendo. We're totally delighted to have you here, and thanks for the advocacy work you're doing everywhere. And the mass is okay. We thank you so much, not just for being here, but for using your platform all the time to advance the message across. Communication is a critical tool, and we're delighted about the way that you use it, and not only use it, but also to support initiatives. We thank you, our very distinguished BOT chairman. And I know that you've been here. I know that I've also seen your comments. I do not want to close this without recognizing the fact that in spite of your very busy schedule, you found the time to spend the whole of the day with us. And we're very delighted about that. And thank you also for all of our participants who's tuned in from all over the world. This is streamed live on Facebook and YouTube, and you'll be amazed the number of participants and engagements on that. Have a blessed weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and evening. Read your notes from time to time and leave the story. Everything we've learned today, let's put it to action. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Chizo Malize, and I'm delighted to host this program today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.